Yesterday, as I was driving to Perth Airport to come back here to Sydney, I was taken aback by the plethora of virtue signalling on display. Firstly, it was Perth Airport's Noongar welcome sign, which, according to the airport, gives visitors a unique welcome and an introduction to Noongar culture. I then went to the gate, where the sign on the boarding gate said Gadigal country. Now, you'd forgive me for being confused as to which city I was flying into. I mean, Sydney would have been simple enough, but no. And it didn't stop there. Landing in Sydney, Qantas then welcomed me to country, the country I live in. It's quite a handful of woke and identity politics in the space of only a few hours. Now, in saying that, it feels like the tide is turning. People seem to be realising that the welcome to country has gone above and beyond. So much so that Melbourne Storm has banned it at games. Elders in a North Queensland Shire also voted to ban welcome to country ceremonies, saying they have been abused. But the only people being abused by welcome to country is you and I. We are being conned by the activism. It's a con job, one big money-making exercise that we are paying for. In fact, welcome to country ceremonies at Australian government events have cost Aussie taxpayers more than $450,000 in the past 2 years. $450,000. And if you do the math, it's almost $1,300 per ceremony. For what? It certainly doesn't improve the lives of Indigenous Australians. All it does is divide us by the colour of our skin and makes those who are not Aboriginal feel unwelcome in their own country. And the frustrating part is we feel obliged to just sit there and accept the welcome to country at every event to be polite, while we get pelted with this nonsense.
And I'm here this evening to perform a ceremony of welcome to country. A welcome to country is not a welcome to Australia. Within Australia we have many Aboriginal lands and we refer to our lands as country. So it's always a welcome to the lands you're gathered on. A welcome to country is not a ceremony that we've invented to cater for white people. It's a ceremony we've been doing for 250,000 years plus BC, and the BC stands for before Cook.
Well, that certainly wasn't a welcome. In fact, it was an insult, especially when this welcome to country was not invented 250,000 plus years BC, but in 1976 by television presenter Ernie Dingo and musician Richard Walley, who performed what they claim was Australia's first contemporary welcome to country for non-Indigenous Australians. And since then, it's stretched far and wide by activists across the country. Have a look at the breakdown of the costs. The Australian Institute of Sport racked up a bill of $47,000 in 2 years for welcome to country at events. The Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet alone spent over $41,000. The National Indigenous Australians Agency paid Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander representatives more than $60,000 during the same period. Almost $31,000 was spent by the Industry, Science and Resource Department, and over $35,000 in taxpayer cash was handed out by the Federal Infrastructure Department, and it goes on. Now imagine how that money could have been spent on improving the lives of Aboriginal people and actually on closing the gap. Yet we have a situation where councils are the same. Brisbane ratepayers were slugged $135,000 in the past 2 years alone. A New South Wales surf club wanting to hold carnivals and a fundraising swim on a public beach was charged $2,000 to pay for welcome to country ceremonies. So how did the closing the gap and reconciliation movement become a cash cow? Well, it's simple. It's an exercise in self-loathing from the left. They always need something to feel good about, don't they? And this is why the culture wars matter. Because this next generation is being brainwashed into feeling guilty about the stolen generation or feeling bad about being proud of this country. Educational curriculum is being infiltrated. Kids are being welcomed to country in the classrooms. They're being told to apologise to the stolen generation. And it's the same woke who year in, year out, call for the date of Australia Day to be changed. And you see, the progressive left has been slowly infiltrating and ultimately seeking to tear down the values and traditions of the Australia that once was. They want to destroy everything that British settlers brought to this country. And so here we are today with an almost $500,000 bill to help the left feel better about themselves. And Labor continues to peddle the narrative. Its politics of racial division was on full display when Labor MP Annika Wells had to pause her press conference last week because she was not standing in front of the three flags of Australia.
Sorry, can we just pause there? I'll just put the flags in front, if that's okay.
Oh, sure. Oops. It's even literally a photo of what you're supposed to do.
Oh.
Look at that. Well, lucky it's just us.
How's that, mate?
You can't see the Torres Strait Islander, just bring it in to the left a bit and bring the Australian one a tiny bit closer to you.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Well,
Yep.
okay. All right, all ready?
It's uncomfortable every time you watch that clip. And it's not even the Australian flag that she stands in front of, it's the Aboriginal. The goodwill of the Australian people only extends so far, but how many more of these things are we supposed to sit through? At almost $500,000, it's clear that this is a business venture, which is achieving nothing now except for backlash. And remember, 60% of us voted no to that division. And as the old saying goes, we are Australian.